Hi everyone, welcome to Warhammer. We are your hosts, Jack
and Dan.
And today we're going to be talking about...
Lots to get through today. So with the Tyranid Codex coming out for pre-order, we're going to ask, is this the start of Codex creep? Or has GW actually got the balance about right in this book?
Yeah, a lot to talk about.
Then on top of that, there's an awful lot in this Codex. Is GW about to make 40k a lot more complicated again?
Yep. A lot of detachments.
Yeah, they're going to drown us in detachments. There's an endless swarm of enhancements and a shed load of stratagems. But is this just bringing the faction flavour back to 40k?
Very true. And on the other side, we're going to be also looking at Warhammer Plus today as well. We're going to be discussing how much it is, if any of us have bought it yet, if there's any alternatives out there, and what does Warhammer Plus actually bring to the community.
Yeah, is it worth it?
Exactly. Find out today.
So we'll dive straight in, and I think the first thing we need to talk about is this issue about complexity. So there's been a little bit of salt, surprise, surprise, a little bit of salt online, but
There's
also
a bit of salt.
There is. Also, I saw a couple of content creators have raised this as an issue as well, so it is something that I think is worth discussing. And this is the sheer amount of flavour, if you like, that they've put into the Codex.
There's a lot to unpack with it, isn't there?
So the Tyranid Codex has 6 detachments. There's 5 new ones because it still includes the one that was in the index. But each of those detachments then has 6 stratagems, 4 and 4 enhancements.
A lot to unpack on that one.
Yes. So, and obviously a unique army rule. Now, if this is the template that GW is going to use for all codices, like every codex is going to have 6 detachments, each detachment's going to have 6 strats and 4 enhancements, you're going to end up with potentially over 900 stratagems for a start. I think it's something like 600 enhancements, 900 strats, and there'll be over 150 detachments. Now that does not fit with simplified, not simple, does it?
No, they seem to be very going away from what they always talk about. Less lethality and then more simplicity.
Yes,
but it doesn't seem to be so.
However, I mean, not that I want to sit on the fence so long I get splinters in my arse, but I think there's we do need to both sides of this, because they got absolute pelters when the indexes came out from a lot of players going, you've destroyed my faction. There's no flavour in my faction anymore. I can only play it one way.
Well, I mentioned it on a couple of episodes back about how there's like nothing. Only thing that Necrons have are reanimations. That's what I'm going to build my list around. So I'm quite happy to see the flavour coming back.
And I think the flavour needs to come back. So we need to remember, I think, as much as we like talking about bubbles on here, as everybody knows, but there's there are different bubbles within 40k. You have a competitive bubble where you have what I would call a casual competitive bubble, which I'll put like the likes of us into. Yeah. And then the vast majority of players are probably in the casual bracket. Yes. Some of those are also narrative players. They're not really, they want to tell a story rather than win a game, if you like. Yeah. So putting all of that faction flavour back in is going to make the game enjoyable for those people again.
For a lot of people there, yeah.
So from the casual perspective, that's got, and the narrative perspective, I think this is a great move. It's got them covered. From the competitive and competitive casual players, I actually don't think it's as big a deal as some people have made out, right? So because if you think back to 9th, realistically in competitive play, how many, let's take Necrons, we're both Necron players, how many dynasties were competitive?
Oh,
so
one.
Well, yeah. So in what I would consider the golden age of 9th edition was Nephilim. Like we had, there was one custom dynasty that was everybody took, which was
the objective secured one and the pre-game movement.
Yeah, 6-inch pre-game move, and everything had obsec, so it was called the obsec dynasty.
Yeah, well, for a lot of people who don't know that, it's that you can either pick from the core dynasties of the Necron army, or very similar to other armies where you had a full 2-page spread.
You got a menu,
exactly. You can either pick one from one side and another from the other, and then that is your custom dynasty. So the one that we picked was the objective secured and the pre-game move, because that was just unreal.
And you raise a really good point there, right? So I went back on this talk of complexity, saying we've got 6 detachments, we've got that's 36 enhancements and 24 enhancements and 36 strats in each book. Yeah. How does that compare to 9th edition? So the 9th edition Necron Codex, we had just in the custom dynasties alone, in that menu you were talking about, there was 84 potential combinations. There you go. We also had 6 fixed dynasties. We had 40 stratagems in that book. And enhancement-wise, I think there was about 38. So they were split in different ways. It was like 14 relics, 12 Cryptek Arcana, and then the Warlord traits as well. But they would be the equivalent of what is now enhancements.
Now you're saying that, actually, didn't the Destroyer cult also come out at a later point in time?
Destroyer cult and the Cryptek, there was a Cryptek army as well that both came out in White Dwarf that also had their own strats as well. You're exactly right. So looking at north of 50. Yes. But again, realistically, how many strats as Necron players do you reckon you would use? I would say probably a hard half dozen that were the go-to strats.
If that, really, yeah. I mean, I didn't really use very much. It was quite annoying because, like, during games, people would just instantly be able to read me and see what kind of stratagems or what dynasties I'm going to be taking. I think the one tournament that I did go to, I think as I approached, I'd put down my Necrons on the table, and the guy was like, "Oh, you're playing the OBSEC and pre-game move." I was like, "Oh yeah," and he was like, "Yeah, everyone is." I was just like, "Sure, yeah."
And you've just pretty much made the point, I think, in that as the issue that some people are concerned about in terms of how many detachments and strats etc. there is in the 10th edition Codex. Is less. It's fewer than. First of all, it's fewer than what was in 9th.
Yeah.
But secondly, there will, unless GW has done an amazing job on balancing this book, there will be 1 or 2 detachments in there and a handful of strats that will make them that everybody will use.
Exactly.
And that's all that opponents are going to need to learn.
And I really hope that they don't. Basically, I really hope it is spread out so that we do see a variety at these tournaments or casual games or just any kind of play.
Well, Jack.
Yeah. What do I have?
So
lay it on me.
Yeah. Out of the 6 detachments, the early. I mean, obviously, it's very early days. The actual book isn't in our hands yet because we're not on GW's list of content creators.
But we certainly could be.
Yes, GW. So they haven't sent us a preview copy of the book, which is very sad. So we should absolutely slam them for it. No, we're not going to do that. So they
get in the comments now.
So they there's 6 detachments in here, and from the previews that other content creators that are more fortunate than us have done, and also talking to people on some of the Facebook forums, etc. for NIDS.
Yes.
The general consensus is there's probably going to be 2, maybe 3 ways that people are going to try running them competitively.
Right.
And then I think the usual will happen, and that will very much narrow down to right down to which units are the most efficient, etc. So our friend Lewis is a big. We've talked about Lewis before in his Chaos Space Marines, but he's also a massive Tyranid fan.
Yeah, a little bug fan.
Yeah, he likes big bugs and he cannot lie. And he is very keen, having seen the preview on the Endless Swarm detachment, which is very thematic for Tyranids, I've got to say.
That's one of the ones I didn't actually find the other day, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it wasn't in the initial Warhammer community. Wasn't in the initial Warhammer community preview, but obviously information has come out through Codex reviews, etc. From the content creators.
Small little leaks that people do all the time.
Yeah,
actually, is it a leak?
No, they sent them. They're official leaks, effectively.
Official leaks, yeah.
You can call them that. So yeah, it's basically where he's going to drown the board in gaunts, and
I shouldn't have sold him my gaunts. I sold them like 50 like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, this is your fault now.
I think I know why he asked for them.
yeah, he obviously saw this coming, but there's and I think, to be fair, if I might be overstating this, but I think this could help swing the meta a little bit because the moment lists are tailored up to dealing with certain things.
Yeah.
And if this proves to be very effective, the meta's going to have to adjust to dealing with horde armies.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to see. You'd like to see a bit of change in the meta.
Definitely.
But I mean, there's ways to give them lethal hits on 5s. They can blood surge like Khorne Berserkers. So like you
they move as well.
Yeah. So if you shoot them, then they can move, and if you shoot them with another unit, then they can move, and if you shoot them with another unit, then they can move. There's no limit. There's no cap on it. So they can, and they can get into engagement range and counters charged.
Ooh.
So yeah, so if you try and shave a few off with some pitter patter fire, you could end up with them right in your face. That's and obviously, early stages of the game, you're giving them basically board control because they're just going to get on those central objectives.
Well, yeah, if they get first turn, they move up, and then because you will shoot at them. So when you shoot at them, you're just going to continuously be moving forward constantly.
Exactly.
Do we know how far that goes up to? Is it their normal move or
it's D6? I think
D6.
Yeah,
that's still pretty good. It's like a charge roll. Not a charge roll.
Yeah, it's a half charge, like an advance roll.
That's the one. Yes.
But they've got on the other flip side, they already had this rule from the index, is that if you get too close to them, like you want to charge them, they can move D6 back.
Oh no!
So they've got quite a lot of flexibility there.
A bit of Grey Knights coming out through them there.
Yeah,
as well.
There's a little bit. There's some good
one too many of them, I think.
Yeah,
gain their abilities.
Eight Grey Knights. Yeah. And they've but there's they can get lethal hits on 5s, which is pretty tasty. They can get there's a 2 CP strat to bring an entire unit back, so they've got that kind of Gene Stealer cult resurrection thing going on.
Yeah.
So there's an awful lot of play in that detachment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other detachments are potentially a bit more fluffy, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like the look of the Vanguard Onslaught one.
Yes.
Quite good. For anyone who doesn't know that one, I'll read it out for people who don't know. But the Tyranid units with this ability are eligible to charge in a turn in which they fell back. Vanguard Invader units with this ability are eligible to charge in a turn which they advanced. I just like the movement. Time is all about movement, basically. So you need to get around the board. So having that flexibility to basically, fall back and then to be able to do other activities and then charge back in again is going to be really good, especially if you've got like assault weapons to really get around the board. That's going to be really good.
I think absolutely will be, and I think the question is going to be whether those Gene Stealer units have the melee punch to make melee great again, if I'm going to use that phrase once.
You're really trying to get that one in there.
I'm going to make it a thing. Make melee great again. But yeah, so fall back and charge, advance and charge, those are both really, in 9th, they were incredibly powerful mechanics. In 10th, so far, they haven't been as powerful because it's a shooty meta.
Yeah.
Or shooty edition. But if that changes, then, and some of these Tyranid bugs have got very, pretty strong profiles.
Definitely. I think the Crusher Stampede is going to be a good one for like the Norm. What's it called again? There's two of them, isn't there? Norm
Emissary and the Norn Assimilator.
Yes. There's two of those ones. I think the Crusher Stampede is going to be good for those ones because it's all about monsters, isn't it?
It is. That is the big bug thematic one, and how much play it's going to get, we'll just have to wait and see. But there are ways again to make those bugs quite hard to kill.
Yeah,
give them more obsec.
That's it.
And also
they hit harder, basically.
Yeah, make them hit harder.
If they take wounds, they get +1 to their hit rolls.
Yeah, that's
and
fantastic.
Then I think if they go below half strength, they also add 1 to their wound rolls. As well. So that's really good.
It's really thematic of those like wounded big bugs lashing out and that.
Exactly. And all monsters, Tyranid monsters, add 3 to their OC.
Yes.
So the objective control.
You're getting much more objective control.
Typically, the big ones already have an OC of 5. So 5, 6, 7, going up to 8.
They're going to be very hard to knock off the mid-board, absolutely.
Definitely, which is going to be quite nice to see.
Yeah, and I'd like to see that get some play. I'm not convinced, based on some of the others, that it's the stronger ones. I think people might lean. The challenge you've got with Endless Swarm, right, is if you're a Tyranid player and you're going to bring 100 Gants, your opponent's going to put you at a tournament. Your opponent's going to put you on a chess clock. I know I would. I'd be like, all right, you've got to move 100 models, have you? Chess clock, mate.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So if even if you're playing like a casual game, like if we're playing against Lewis, you're going to have to add on an extra hour to 2 hours just to accommodate the extra movement.
Very true.
And then you're going to kill one of those units, and he's going to bring it back and then do it all again.
He's definitely getting a chess clock.
Yeah, he's going on a chess clock as well. Yeah. So there's Endless Swarm has the synergies with the strats is pretty strong. Vanguard, some of the strats and that are pretty strong. There's another one called Synaptic Nexus. That looks halfway decent as well.
What's that one?
So this is your psychic bugs. Now I know there is a lot of anti-psycho knocking about, so that might play into this, but we'll see. But they have an awful lot of good durability buffs, so they can. There's things like -1 damage. You can have an army-wide 5-up feel no pain. There's
that's really good.
One of the really interesting things. There's an enhancement you can give them that's like anti-deep strike. It's a bit like those Space Marine units where it's a 12-inch bubble.
That's it might not sound like a lot going from 9 to 12.
It makes a massive
difference. It's absolutely massive because it's effectively an impossible charge to get.
Yes.
Which is hard. When you deep strike in 12-inch charge, it's very unlikely.
So if this enhancement, I can't remember exactly, you have to excuse me, I think it's somewhere between 20 and 30 points, but that would be quite strong, you would think, for that points value. But that isn't all it does.
Yeah.
So on top of that, it also, if you're trying to bring in any strategic reserves in turn 1 or 2, or a redeploy, like for example when Necrons use a Veil of Darkness.
Is that the Tyranids or is that the opponent?
The opponent. So if the opponent's trying to bring in strategic reserves or redeploy a unit like using the Veil of Darkness.
Oh, okay, right.
The Tyranid player gets to roll a d6 and on a 4-up, you can't bring that unit in.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
That is just. That's crap. I mean, it's good for them, but I imagine,
can you imagine being Gene Stealer cults or something like that? Yeah. They're gonna really
shut them down.
Yeah, it's gonna really shut them down.
Again, Grey Knights. That's going to destroy the Grey Knights. Even though Grey Knights no, Grey Knights are against Chaos, aren't they?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, I think Grey Knights hate everybody.
They do. Yeah. Everyone hates everyone really in Warhammer. So I think that just makes sense.
Yeah.
But yes, that's actually Grey Knights is going to get absolutely stomped
So there's
for that one then.
That detachment, given the amount of redeploy shenanigans that are in this edition, and rightly so for point scoring, but that could, I think, for denying your opponent secondary, that could be really, really strong.
Yeah, because I don't know if everyone knows, but Grey Knights, basically, there's so many abilities that they have where they can teleport away. So if you move very close to them, they can teleport away.
Yes.
At the end of your turn, they can remove D3 units.
3 units, yeah.
So 3 units, and then redeploy them later on.
Yep.
So that 12-inch bubble that we're just talking about is going to just completely bugger them.
Yeah, or the fact that there's you've only got a 50-50 chance of being able to bring them in. I mean, it is only in the first 2 rounds, but
right. And then after turn 3 onwards, they're always going to come in.
If I've read it right, after turn 3,
I mean, that would suck where you get you're like, oh, I'm not going to bring them in turn 1. Turn 2, you're like, okay, no, I'm not too good. Then turn 3, you're like, oh, I'll bring them in. And then the guy rules. Yeah. And he's like, oh, you can't bring them in. But then the rule is that they get destroyed after turn 3. So imagine if that was the play.
I guess that's why they've done it. I mean, the bubble lasts for the whole game, the 12-inch deny bubble, if you like.
So who was that against? That all psychic units? Or was that
that is against anybody. But it's the
any unit in the list?
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Absolutely disgusting.
Rules as written, it doesn't seem to apply to deep strike. Right. It applies to, if I can say it, strategic reserves and also redeploys. But whether it applies to deep strike or not, I'm not sure yet. But either way, it's incredibly strong.
That is incredibly strong.
Yeah. I mean, that's an enhancement, but for the points cost, as I was saying before, it's very, very efficient.
Because, again, in 10th, it's all about movement. It's about getting around the board. And if you're not able to get around the board because you're being blocked, that's going to be an absolute nightmare for you.
Yeah. And as you just hit the nail on the head there's certain factions that are going to feel that pain a lot more than the others. In summary, really, while there are 6 detachments there, my gut feeling is the most likely one we're going to see towards the competitive end of Warhammer will be the Endless Swarm.
You reckon?
I think it's probably going to be the sort of the Starship Troopers thematic hordes of bugs.
I think I don't disagree with you, but I think the rest of them are still pretty good. I think the rest of them are playable. Is the main thing.
Yes.
I think people forget now that the monsters and such, they're tough. They're hard to shrug. They're like toughness 11 minimum for these kind of monsters.
Yes, most of them are pretty hard to kill. Yeah, the bigger bugs.
Getting through them, and the more you hurt them, the more they're going to get better.
And if you can stack, their stats get better. But also if you can stack durability buffs on them, like a 5-up fill no pain army wide or something, that's a big deal. I think there's a couple of them that are perhaps too fluffy for play. There's the assimilator. Is it called something assimilators?
Yes. Assimilator Swarm.
Yes. One? So this is it's a beautifully thematic one again. Where this is the what I would consider to be the tail end of Hive Fleet. So this is the bit that comes in and sort of devours all the biomass.
Eats it all up.
Yeah. So the rules are based around that. If you're on objectives, they sort of devour this biomass, and then they can heal units up around them.
Okay, right.
But there's only a handful. I think it might even be 3 or 4 units.
More like a narrative campaign kind of thing,
exactly.
Doesn't it?
So I think you can I play quite a lot of narrative with my youngest boy. He's not mad keen on playing competitive 40k. So so I'm interested in the narrative side of things from that respect.
Yeah.
And I think you can almost see the way they've done the detachments, that it could play out a really nice campaign. So you've got the Vanguard coming in first, like the sneaky lictors and the gene stealers. Yeah. Then you've got your hordes, and then you've got your big bugs with the psychic, and then you've got your psychic guys, and then at the end you've got the assimilators coming in to devour the biomass.
Makes sense.
It's
quite nice.
In terms of if we forget about the competitive side of the hobby and we just talk about the narrative side and the fluff and the lore, then this book to me really encapsulates all of that. It enables you to play Tyranids every way that they are described within the lore.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think players are going to like that, because being a Tyranid kind of collector myself, I do like the sound of these ones. And I feel like there's not a one there where I'm just like, I'm not going to take that one. Like, I'm not going to run that one. It's not, I'm not bothered by it. What I am curious though is, have they actually released the full information on it? Like obviously there's the enhancements as well. Have they released all the enhancements for them as well?
So the preview they've done, they released, it was a preview. So they talked about a couple of detachments, a couple of strats, a couple of enhancements.
Okay, right.
The content creators that got the Codex have obviously gone through the lot, and there's discussions are now starting to, that information is now filtering through the Tyranid community, and they're starting to have some serious discussions about what they like and what they don't.
As a Tyranid player who doesn't play Tyranids all too much, I would love if people actually had like tips and tricks to put in the comments. I would actually love to see and read through what's going to be, what are their favourites.
Tell us which detachments you're going to be running, which strats and enhancements you like the look of. There's also the other thing to talk about is Codex creep. So does this represent the start of Codex creep?
I mean, there's always going to be I mentioned this the other day. There's always going to be a jump between the indexes to the codexes because the codexes are going to bring, as we've just discussed, flavour.
Yes.
Whereas the indexes don't have it. So us being Necrons, we're coming out in winter time.
Yeah, our Codex might be this side of Christmas. It might just be after.
Hopefully, it's this side of Christmas. Obviously, it's just as soon. I want it sooner. But I just feel like comparing the indexes to the codexes isn't a good judgment to see if this is when Codex creep comes in. I think that we'll see it primarily. Codex creep is when we get ours because I think it's us and Imperial Guard get ours in December.
Yes, so the Ninja's out now, Space Marines next, and then us, and I think it's Guard.
Yes.
Isn't it the winter releases?
Once we'll start to see the 3 or the 4th Codex, I think that's when we'll start seeing the biggest.
I think in terms of benchmarking against other codexes, that's a very good point because obviously this is the first one, so there's nothing to benchmark it against.
Yes.
My concern was whether there was going to be such a gap between the index and the codex that it demonstrated this, a bit like we've just talked about with the fact that, the layout of the book, the fact there's 6 detachments, loads of enhancements, etc.
Yeah.
That's the template, right? Mm-hmm. So if the template for codexes is demonstrated by this NID codex in that there's going to be more powerful than the indexes, and then that to me indicates that we're going to get codex creep.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Tyranid themselves are saying at 51%.
Yeah, so the
51%
win rate is I think there are a couple of places above Necrons.
They are, yes.
They're in in football parlance, they're just outside the European spots. I think they're in about 7th place or something like that.
Yes, they are.
So they're already reasonably strong.
So I wonder what this index is going to do to those stats. Like, are they going to just skyrocket at the front? Probably not ahead of Eldar, but are they going to skyrocket up?
We've got a balanced data slate coming out next week probably. So if we're recording this now, it's coming out in mid-September. The balanced data slate. So once Tyranids get that Eldar boot off their neck, are they going to be quite strong without this? Like, is the index going to be quite strong? And the answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
If the codex is slightly stronger, then it's going to put them in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't. It's very early days, but having read it, doesn't feel like it's going to be anywhere near as oppressive, for example, as when the 9th edition Tyranid Codex came out.
Yes.
Because it went through about 3 nerfs and it was still good. It was good for months. Like it was annoyingly obnoxious for a long time.
Yes.
The other thing is in terms of the points for these, there are some of the big bugs are look to me to be quite efficient, if that's the right phrase. So
right.
I was watching Winter's SEO video and he called them criminally undercosted, and he is a Tyranids player.
Yeah.
But so some of the big bugs, I mean, if you look at the Norn Emissary, she's 305 points. Now,
cheaper than a monolith?
Yeah, it is cheaper than a monolith, and she's pretty good. The other one is the Norn Assimilator, is it called? That is another 20 points cheaper, but has a bit less flexibility.
290 odd?
285 points, yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's under 300. I still don't think, I'll be honest, I wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong, but the extra 20 points for the Emissary feels like very good value for money, like for points. I don't think you'll see many people, unless you're really trying to squeeze one in your list, take the Emissary.
Is that an elite unit as well, or is that a HQ, or is it an epic hero? Because I'm thinking about obviously the enhancements you can give them as well.
Yeah, you can give them, as far as I'm aware, you can give them enhancements, yeah.
So that even better. They can obviously whatever comes with those ones.
Yes, and I think points-wise, there is for some of the other units is still pretty good as well. So there's there was a couple of units that mentioned in Goonhammer's review where they said these are just obscenely cheap and you need to put them, run 3 of these in every army. So as with any edition, GW is not going to get everything right. They're going to err on the side of making NIDs good because they want to sell the models. Yeah. And that, that's their business model. We have to accept that. I can take Tyranids being a little bit strong and a tiny bit of Codex creep, but what I don't want is what we saw in 9th, where each Codex came out and just smashed everybody.
Yes, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? Like, Codex on Codex, it was just like, well, that's the meta for now. It's like, oh, this is the next Codex, right? This is the next meta.
That was exactly it. It was exactly it. Mm-hmm. Yes, each Codex completely upended the meta, which maybe isn't. I don't mind the meta again shifting, but it just felt like an arms race all the time.
It was, and I don't think that they got in the habit of doing it. I don't think they realised what they could do to stop it, because they couldn't then release a Codex that was crap and then be like, well, look, we're doing what you say. It's like, well, you've just destroyed a Codex. You just destroyed an army. Yeah. They're literally unplayable now.
Yes. It was. So my overall verdict is that this is pretty good. I think I like the amount of flavour they put in there.
Yeah.
I don't think the Codex creep is going to be obnoxious. There is going to be a little bit of creep, but we can live with that, I think.
I agree. I think, my kind of final thoughts or final verdict is that I think it's a good Codex. I think I'm looking forward to the flavour that it brings. I'm looking forward to kind of try different units, try different attachments. Looking forward to get my hands on the actual book itself to see what armies I can build myself. Only thing that I dislike about this book, to a big extent, is the artwork. The artwork is staying the same. If you can see it on there, they're keeping the same artwork for the same book. Where's the budget gone? Yeah. Is it all in is it all into the app now? I don't know what's going on.
I really think that's lazy, and this for me, maybe it's not lazy. I think perhaps it's an example of.
No, I think it's lazy.
GW. Well, I'll tell you why. It's either lazy and the or is it's another example of GW's predatory practices, because you can buy a book with different artwork.
Yes,
this is a limited edition.
It's limited edition one. How much is that, Dan?
I don't know. I think it's about
79.
Is it 79?
I think it's like 79 quid or like 69.99.
Yeah.
So for that, I mean, you used to be able to buy the Codex and the cards and some index cards for that price.
Yes.
But
I mean, still have enough money for the bus home.
Yeah, I know. I'm walking me with those prices. I kind of get that. God, it's ridiculous.
It does seem excessive, very excessive.
It's massive. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. Like, I mean, I love collecting stuff. So I've got the books behind me and such. And I've got some of our books that I really enjoy collecting, but I can't justify spending that, because at the end of the day, I mean, we've got the app that's around the corner as well.
Yeah.
Will people be? I mean, the index cards as well. I really like using my Necron index cards. I'd rather just spend like 30 quid on the index cards for the, instead of getting the artwork. I'd rather just get those.
Yeah, and I think it's another example of GW demonstrating that it's chasing the new player money.
Yeah.
So the idea of any new edition is to bring a lot of new blood into the hobby.
Yeah.
Which is good. We need new blood in the hobby, but it shouldn't be. They shouldn't be simply favoured at the expense of the existing players.
Absolutely not.
It just feels like a little bit of another slap in the face.
It really does. Yeah. It really does. Anything else that you want to talk about the?
No, I think we'll wrap that up. Let's move on to our next point.
Definitely.
So before we move into our next big topic, which is a discussion about whether Warhammer Plus is really worth it, we're going to take I guess what you call it, an intermission break.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Everyone chillax, relax. We're going to talk about a couple of different unit choices out there.
Yes, this is our new feature, which is unit review. So each episode we're going to look at a unit. We're going to start with Necrons, because we're both Necron players, obviously.
Big Necron players.
Yes, so we want to talk about some of the units that that are auto-includes or strong takes in our list, and why that is.
Yes.
And where better to start than with the Necron Overlord?
Absolutely.
So I don't know about you, but for me, he's an absolute auto-include in my Necron lists.
He is. I think at minimum he's always a 1. I've typically brought 2 in my list to combo with the Lich Guard that we'll talk about later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely like one of those auto-includes, I reckon.
And part of that is due to his points. He's 85 points, which feels like very reasonable.
Absolutely, with the combos that you can give him later and the stratagems and such, it's really good.
Yeah, so he has a unique combination, I think, as in the Necron Codex, of being able to bring a lot of tactical flexibility. He can increase a unit's resilience, but he also packs a little bit of a combat punch. So he's bringing quite a lot to the party for those 85 points.
He is.
So let's have a look at some of those things. His Resurrection Orb enables you to enact your resurrection protocols in your opponent's command phase, as well as yours, so immediately that's double efficiency.
It is absolutely double the efficiency, and again, if you combo that with a close by reanimator, that's 2 D3s that you're bringing back.
Yes.
So it's effectively a D6 amount of wounds that you could potentially bring back.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful if you can get those synergies popping off.
If you score max, that's 3 Lich Guard, full healed up, ready to go again. That's massive to get through.
Yeah, it's huge. And I think in terms of his own resilience, he has an innate -1 damage, incoming damage, which makes him a little bit harder for your opponent to sort of snipe him out with those precision attacks as well.
Very true.
And if they do manage to get through that, there is also a strat to bring him back.
Again, which again, that stratagem's been improved as well, because last time it was like you rolled a D6 and on a +2 he came back or something. I think
it was a 4-up.
4-up it was actually, yes. But now the stratagem is just he comes back.
Yes,
which was fantastic.
Yeah, it was soul destroying in 9th edition to spend a CP and then roll a dice for him not to come back.
Yeah, you couldn't re-roll it even. It was it wasn't good.
But so that's very helpful. But
Wargear's good.
Yeah, in terms of his own abilities as well, he's got an innate ability to use a strat for free in each battle round, which is very powerful in 10th, I think.
Depending on how you use it and what combos you use with it, absolutely. What's your favourite one for that one?
We'll come on to that in a second, but I think we want to talk a little bit about also before we move on in terms of his combat punch. He's got the Void Scythe, which is 3 attacks, strength 12, high. I think it's AP 3 or 4, and damage 3. So that can really help a unit get through some of those higher elite infantry, like Terminators, for example,
or even the big beasts or monsters, vehicles as well.
Yes,
really good.
Yes, yeah, right. With the strength 12, you're going to be able to wound effectively against some of those bigger
probably
models.
a hit on freeze, wounding on freeze and such like that aspect. So yeah, really good. It is a +1 to hit though, so it is a little bit harder to hit on that one because normally the normal weapons are +2. This one goes to a +3.
Yeah, he hits, and his weapon skill is 3, but this is an interesting one. So, rules as written, when he's leading a unit, that unit gets +1 to hit.
They do, don't they, actually?
And he technically is part of the unit.
Right.
So the way I've been playing it, so tell us, viewers and listeners, if we're wrong, but the way I've been playing it is while he's part of that unit, he also benefits from that rule. So he's hitting on 2s with the Void Scythe.
Well, I hope you are right, because that would be a lot better.
Yeah.
And I've been running it wrong this entire time, which would be fantastic for me.
Yeah, well, let us know, everybody, because rules as written, that's definitely how I would interpret it, but I'd be interested to know how everyone else is playing.
That'd be really good to know.
But yeah, in terms of his best war gear, there's a few options in there, but the best war gear for me absolutely is the Void Scythe and the Resurrection Orb. I don't think any of the other war gear combos come close.
No, not for me anyways.
Yeah.
I don't see the viability, because they're going to be with the Lich God anyways, who are going to be mowing through units anyways, so I think it's nice to pack a punch in that. Yes, well, that brings us neatly onto the best units running with. So the choices effectively are Warriors and Lich Guard, and you can bring some benefits, obviously we just talked about, in terms of that durability buff and stuff for Warriors and a bit of combat punch. But generally speaking, the synergies are greater with the Lich Guard because he gives them a -1 to be wounded as well, which is massive. Yeah, especially on those Lich Guard who are already tough as it is. Yeah, it's really an extra layer of obnoxiousness on the Lich Guard. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, I mean, we've even spoke about the Technomans that you can bring with them as well, comboed with the Cryptol Thralls. Yes, incredible. Yes, so there's an awful lot of additional combos, but in terms of the Overlord, he is money as far as I'm concerned in terms of that. Absolutely. And in terms of the best strats, you and I use different ones here, but the most commonly used strat I use him with the Lich Guard would be the Free Interrupt. Yes. Because that really makes my opponent think about where he wants to start with combat. Yep. And if I can get those Lich Guard and the Overlord to fight before an elite melee unit, they can thin their ranks a little bit. They're not going to wipe them out in turn one go, but if you can thin them out a little bit, that gives me a much better chance of that unit surviving. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's really good. Good. And you wanted to talk a little bit, before we move on, sorry, in terms of best enhancements. The enhancements and don't actually synergize that well with the Overlord, so you're not going to give him the Sempiternal Weave, which gives you a 4-up Feel No Pain, because you're going to put that on your Transcendent Katana, aren't you, right? Pretty much there, yeah. That's always going to be getting that. Yeah, that's where you're going to get the most value out of that. Yeah, you want the toughness on him more. The Coronal Weave, the Coronal one, you're not going to use on him because he's already got that. He's already giving the unit the buff, so you don't need to be giving it to other units particularly. You're not going to be packed in that tight. Nah. So it's more useful on something like a Hexmark Destroyer that's babysitting some, Doomsday Arcs or something like that. Exactly. Yes, definitely. The one that does work, I think, quite well with him is the Veil of Darkness. Absolutely. 20 points again, an absolute steal. It is. Again, it's the movement that's key, isn't it? We need to get those Lich Guard where they need to be, which is on the mid-board objective. Absolutely right. So yeah, take the Veil of Darkness with him, and get that. You can very quickly get that unit up onto a mid-board objective, 100%. And then it's going to stay there all game. Exactly. One thing that we haven't talked about is the range weapons on them. Yes. So I don't really use on them, but I really like the Tachyon Arrow that comes with him. So the thing with the Tachyon Arrow, is it was a bit disappointing in 9th as well, but the lore, it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's one of these things that were gifted from the Silent King to a lot of lords out there. But what happened is they were gifted these at the very start of the War in Heaven, and a lot of these lords actually used it relatively early on. So a lot of them used it in the early days of the war. Literally blew their load early doors. Pretty much, right. Pretty much. And it's a one-shot thing. So basically, if anyone doesn't know it, this Tachyon Arrow is this massive mystical, basically arrow that gets shot out of the forearm of a Necron Lord, but it's a one-use only. Once you've shot it, there's no more available to be restocked. So a lot of these lords that are out there were like, there's a tank over there, I'm going to shoot it, or this weird, wild, flying spaceship. It was like, I'm going to try and shoot it down, and it would shoot and then miss, and then that would be it over. It. Yeah. But in one of the latest the books of the what was it, the Reign Twice Dead King.
Oh yes.
Really good book if no one's read it yet. But there's a part in that where I won't spoil anything, I won't name characters, but there's a part in there that where two lords are talking to each other about this exact arrow, and there's a titan stomping towards them, and they're just like, all right, well, that's a titan. And then one of the Necron overlords looks over at his friend and goes, all right, you're going to take him down? He goes, oh, I've already used mine. I used it 2 months into when I first got it. And he was like, did you hit the target? And he goes, no. And he's like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. And he just aims it at this titan. Obviously, titans can't move very fast. They can't dodge out the way per se. And it just shoots it, and just you can see this, the way he describes it as it goes through this titan, and just blows it up.
It takes out a titan?
It takes out a titan one shot. It's
wow.
unreal. That doesn't reflect what happens in the tabletop.
No.
It's only D6 plus 2.
Yeah.
But in the lore-wise, it's a lot better in the lore. So that's a nice little snippet for people to take away.
It kind of feeds back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of competitive versus narrative. Is that I love that there are options to put things like that in the game. And if you're running your own homebrew campaign, you could make it 5d6 damage if you really wanted to.
Rules are yours.
Yeah, the rules are yours to do what you like with. But it's about keeping that flavour in the faction. But it's never going to see any play in a competitive list.
No, not at all.
So that pretty much, I think, that pretty much rounds us up for our first unit review. So please let us know in the comments whether you enjoyed that. Let us know how you use the Overlord if you're a Necron player, and also we'd like to hear from you, I guess, Jack, if they want to tell us what units want to review next.
Absolutely, yes, please put in the comments below. That'd be fantastic. I think we'll move on to the next subject, which is Warhammer Plus.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into this.
See how this goes. Right, move on to the next segment, which is Warhammer Plus and Battleforge going on, right?
Yeah, so do you want to tell us why we're talking about that this week? It's pretty controversial.
It is. So Battleforge is basically going to be putting behind a paywall now. So the army builder that we use to basically make our lists in 40k is now going to be put behind a paid-for service, effectively, and they're combining it together, aren't they?
So basically, if you don't have Warhammer Plus, you can't access Battleforge anymore, which sucks.
It does kind of suck. And there's multiple reasons why it does suck. And there's some really good points that I think a lot of people have forgotten about that I would love to get into. So if anyone who doesn't know, Battleforge is basically a 40k version of an army builder. So you basically get the Codex, you get the indexes, you get the models, you get everything painted, ready to go, and you need to basically have an app to basically build a legit army. Now, you don't have to use the app, of course. You can go back to pen and paper, but the app itself just makes it easier overall. And I think recently it's been free for a long time since 10 came out, but it's becoming a chargeable service now, and they're combining it with Warhammer Plus, aren't they? Yeah,
and this is it's probably the most used and usable aspect of the 40k app. So the rest of the free app has got the core rules in there, which is great. That's still free.
Yes,
and the index cards. And as the edition progresses and we get codexes, they won't be free.
No.
So the free app is going to become less and less useful.
Absolutely.
But if we're going to be made to pay for Warhammer Plus, how much does it cost, and is it worth it?
It's a very good point. It is going to cost $5.99 per month,
right,
to use effectively an army builder, because there's a lot of stuff on the app itself that comes with it, which we'll talk about later. But if you're just looking for an army builder app, it's going to cost you $5.99 a month or $49.99 per year.
Now you do get a free mini if you with this.
You do.
I think if I have understood it correctly, if you pay the 50 quid up front, you get the mini almost straight away.
Yes.
But otherwise, you have to basically subscribe for a year before you get it, to stop people just subscribing for a month and getting a free mini.
Absolutely. But the minis that came out this time, do you like them?
The Kazakin mini was a bit
like the Sergeant, right? Kazakin Sergeant.
I mean, okay, but
it's just a general tactical rock.
Yeah,
kind of fellow,
the classic tactical rock.
Yeah, nothing's kind of screaming out that's like unique to him. He just looks like any generic.
I think it's a her, but yeah, exactly. There's nothing dynamic particularly about it or exciting. No. It didn't. If I was going to pitch for one of them, it would be the other one is the Age of Sigmar mini is a vampire count, and the reason I would do that is I'm not a Sigmar player, but it
looks really good.
It does look really good, and it would also there's a couple of Drakari units that would fit quite well. So there's a Lamian, which is part of the Court of the Archon, and she's out of print.
Right.
So it would be a good proxy for that for a start.
That would be a good one there.
It'd even be a Drakari Archon, to be honest.
Yeah.
So there's Slight divergence there, but there is some benefit to that model. But I'm having to try and really make a case for it there.
You are.
Neither of them got either of us very excited.
Not really, because I mean, funny enough, if you compare them to the ones that have came out in the previous years, like I don't know if you've seen, but there was the World Eaters Terminator that came out.
Oh my god, yes,
unreal model. The chain swords, the redness, the spikes, the look of it, the feel of it. It's a black and white comparison between them.
The amount of effort that went into that compared to the effort into these new ones is obvious, isn't it?
It is, which kind of sucks now that it's like they're forcing you to buy it effectively because you've got to have you don't have to have an army builder, but the usefulness of that army builder being tied in, I think like
so. Yeah, before we get into like what else Warhammer Plus does is you've hit the nail on the head. There is, I guess it's what if I'm paying $5.99 just for an army builder, is that value for money? I mean, from my perspective, it depends on how much 40k you play. So if we're looking at 40k addicts like us, we're probably getting on average a game a week or 3 games a month, something like that, which is quite a lot of 40k.
It is.
So if you break it down like that, say that roughly is going to be 10 hours plus a month of use of that app, I guess I'm getting, because obviously I'm not using the app for 10 hours, but it's enabling me to play for 10 hours a month. You compare that to something like Netflix, $5.99 versus Netflix is what, 10-15 quid now, something like that?
Yeah, like when you break it down, the price does seem justified, but
well, in that respect, it is. But or it could be, but there are alternatives, aren't there?
Mm-hmm. There are. Well, to be fair, alternatives could just be pen and paper. At the end of the day, like the book, majority of the time has the up-to-date points in there, or you can just go online to get an up-to-date points.
Yeah, you can get
one up-to-date alternative that I actually found online the other day is just an Excel document. Someone's just sat down and put all of the points into an Excel thingy, and you basically just choose the armor that you want. From a drop-down menu, you don't have to type anything in. There's obviously search options as well. I'll put a video on screen of me using it. But effectively, you choose the army, and then below that, you choose the unit. You put in the amount of units that are in that squad, and it just tallies the points up for you.
That's awesome. It's got also something quite classic 40k community about that, where like we don't want any frills on this. We just need the unit names and the points. Yeah,
we just need it to be there for at the end of the day.
There's a few. Obviously, Battlescribe does a certain amount of that, and the Battlescribe community is trying to develop its own one, I think.
Yes, because obviously there's been some controversy in the past about that, so I think they are trying to get together to either update it or make it better.
Fundamentally, the issue is the guy. Yeah, so they don't own Battlescribe. There's one guy that owns it, and he doesn't seem very interested in updating it. He just takes the money.
Yes.
So the sooner that the Battlescribe community can own their own app, the better, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's called Phalanx, if I'm remembering.
Oh, so they're changing the name completely, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm 100% will support that when it comes out, because just to thank them for all the work they did on Battlescribe.
Well, they've done loads, didn't they? Well, for anyone who actually doesn't know what happened in the past, basically what was happening was the creator of the app basically just kind of gave up on it. So it was a very community-run project, as far as I'm aware, where everyone was spending their own time, like basically the Warhammer community was spending their own time updating the app as volunteers, getting the app up to scratch, making sure it was all the right information was there, point-wise, stratagem-wise, combo-wise.
Yes.
But the actual founder of the app, I believe, is the one who basically kind of give up on it. Now, what happens over time is if the founder or whatever doesn't update or do something on the app store itself, it gets removed.
You need to keep updating the apps for the app store. And if you don't, they'll get removed. And there's been at least one occasion when they'd basically, I was going to say sent a letter, but nobody sends letters anymore. They'd basically notified them that they were going to take that away. They sent him a fax. There was a pigeon.
Carrier pigeon.
But he was happy to take the money, and it generates substantial revenue, but he wasn't even doing the and they were doing all of the work. But he wasn't doing the fundamentals that needed to be done.
Exactly.
So we appreciate you, Battlescribe community, and the sooner they develop that, the better. So,
definitely.
But I do like the sound. In the meantime, I do like the sound of the spreadsheet. That I might look at that.
I'll send it across to you later, because literally I'll put a link in the comments below.
Good.
But it's literally super basic. But that's all you need if you're looking just for a bit of hand to add up the points to make it easier for yourself. It'll do the job for you at the end of the day.
So what we're saying is that there are alternatives already. Then we don't need Warhammer Plus for an army builder functionality.
No, because at the end of the day, it is just an Excel document in the background. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You're just putting the numbers in. It's just doing the math for you. It's super easy.
And it is, the Battleforge element of the 40k app is quite pretty, but I'm not, do you need to pay £6 for pretty as well, I guess?
Exactly.
And it does have the functionality where you can click on the rules behind the units and stuff like that as well, I guess. But that will come, I'm imagining, with Phalanx, or there's Warhapedia for 10th edition is sort of in development at the moment as well, isn't it? Which is obviously
another really good app.
Yeah, if you've never used Warhapedia, it is literally the clues in the name. It's like a Wikipedia for Warhammer. It's very easy to get all of the unit information and points values, etc. in one place.
I have to admit, though, since with the app coming out, I've actually not used Warhapedia in a long time, because I generally do think the app has a really good search function in there to find those key rules really fast.
And so, having thought about that from the perspective of the army builder, what else is Warhammer Plus got going on that might make it worth subscribing to? So
to be fair, on Warhammer Plus, there is a lot more information that's on there for you to use. Like, there's the animations that are on there. I don't know if anyone's actually watching them, but
animations.
Yeah, well, there's a touchy subject that I want to cover later on. But there's like the series on there for like Hammer and Bolter, Pariah Nexus.
Pariah Nexus, obviously, for obvious reasons, for Necron reasons. I mean, I'm relatively interested, but I'm not. If we're looking at it again from a TV comparison, I don't want to pay £6 a month for only two shows I can watch versus a multitude of shows on say a Disney Plus or whatever.
Exactly. Now, apart from the animations, there's also battle reports that are on there, or battle reps that's on there. There's the Vault with all the White Dwarf stuff on there.
Yeah, now this one is interesting to me, because until you brought that up, the other day I didn't realise that. So I'm a White Dwarf subscriber, and I'm now thinking, well, that cost me more than a Warhammer Plus subscription.
There we go, yeah.
And I'm,
do you need it, really?
Do I need it?
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you actually going to go back and actually read any of those? Because I think it's quite nice to see, because I think they go back as far as they've actually came out for, right, haven't they? There's really old ones in there that you can go search through.
I'll be interested to go back and see how far it goes, because I think I'm going to give people hints to my age here, but I think the first edition I got was 96.
96.
Yeah, I remember I was already into the hobby when issue 100 came out, which is a commemorative issue I said I'd keep forever, and I've lost it.
Oh man! Well, now you've got it again.
Now I've got it again.
It should be there for you to go get.
Yes,
very nice. Well, apart from those three things, there's also the painting tutorials on there. Now, I did have a quick glance at those. They're hosted by Louise, by the way, but they look pretty good, to be fair. There's some really good variation of videos out there that you need to go have a look at. I think there's some pretty good stuff there. But
Louise Sugden, obviously she's left now and doing her own thing as Rogue Hobbies. Go and check her out on YouTube if you haven't already. But those tutorials are fantastic.
So does she not host them, or who hosts it now then?
I have no idea
The reason why I say that for was because I was literally searching this literally yesterday, and it still shows as Louise on there.
Does it? That's interesting.
I wonder what's going on in that aspect.
So I wonder if, because
someone has taken over.
They will have somebody else. But so it was Duncan Rhodes, and obviously the famous Two Thin Coats. And then he left and has now set up his own Two Thin Coats paint range as well.
Yeah.
And he's got his own thing going on.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they removed him. It's almost like sort of Stalin era Soviets, isn't it? If they removed him from the photograph and then just did Louise's tutorials.
Yeah.
And now she's gone, it'll be somebody else.
It will be someone else. On the topic of those ones, I know that we've mentioned it before that we won't be buying it. Is that still the same fact, Dan?
Well,
explain.
Yeah. So we're going to come on to some of the reasons in a minute about why we are
our stances.
Yeah, why we object in principle to buying Warhammer Plus, because there is some ethical reasons that we're why we're still mad at GW.
Yep.
But I will come clean and say I did buckle, and I didn't buy it for a year.
Mad. I'm not angry. Disappointed. Just disappointed, mate.
I hate to let you down, and honestly, I feel like I've let myself down. I feel a bit dirty, if I'm being honest.
Let everyone down, Dan. Yeah. That's what you've done. So what was the reason for buying it, though, Dan? I do want to hear about it.
There's two reasons. The first one was laziness, and the second one was panic.
Right,
so
okay.
It was because the official announcement was that it was moving behind the paywall on basically at midnight on the 31st or on the 1st of September. So end of August.
Was it, though?
Well, so end of August it was meant to move.
Yes.
So I had a game on the 31st of August. I came back. I went to play our friend Jared. I played Dan. Sorry, our friend Dan had a really good game against his Custodes.
Yep.
Tabled him. but still lost.
Oh, man. I'll take that clap back.
It's not worth a clap.
No.
And then I was in bed about 11 o'clock, and then I realised I'm supposed to play our friend Jared the next day, and I thought, oh no, I'm not going to have access to my list.
Right.
So we're preparing for a tournament at the moment.
Yes.
So I had this massive panic that I was going to lose my tournament list. I wouldn't remember exactly what I put in there. It was going to be a whole thing. So at 11:30 at night, I'm on my phone it took me 5 goes to get them to take my card. So I'm sweating here before midnight trying to get this through. I've only paid for it for a month. It's the $5.99 rolling monthly thing. So as we just explained, I'm not really that arsed about the miniature.
Yeah.
So my view is I need my list now.
Yeah.
As soon as some of those other alternatives become more viable, or now I know about the spreadsheet one, for example, I'll probably just cancel it. So I don't feel good about myself about having bought it, but it's
don't feel good.
it's a very, very short term measure for me.
Yeah. So the reason why I was bringing that up for is because like the stuff that's on there, just like, I mean, will you ever look at the battle reports or the painting tutorials?
Well,
because
painting tutorials, as I said, I think it depends on what they do with the Louise ones, because I have seen some of those from other people who've got the app, and I'm a massive fan of Louise in general. I think the way she presents stuff and the way she explains painting she has
that characteristic where she's just good at describing what she's doing. Yes. I can, like, even though like painting, to some people painting might be a bit boring, but she just makes it really interesting.
Painting for me is very challenging, and she makes it easier. So anything that there is value there. But again, for example, I'm a massive fan of Byron from Artist Opus. His painting tutorials are incredible. There is probably 20 good people out there who can deliver good painting tutorials on YouTube for free.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to bring up for. Like, I don't see the need of me to buy into this Warhammer Plus, because I've never not found a YouTube video that shows me exactly what I needed to do to paint the models that I want to paint.
You can fire in, from a Necron perspective, you can fire in almost anything you want, and you will find it on YouTube.
Absolutely. And the only thing that really draws me into actually having a Warhammer Plus subscription is the animated shows that are on there, because I think the animators that do the work on there, although some of them are a bit rough around the edges when it comes to the animation side of things, I think it's not about the quality of the animation, it's about telling the story. And does that animation tell the story that it needs to? So you might look at one video and you might be like, oh, the animation's shit, but it's like, well, no, like, it's not about if the animation's crap. Is that animation portraying what is happening in the story? And if it does, then that animation is good.
Yeah, and I think with any of these things is once you start getting into it, like the first few minutes you're watching it, it's kind of it's at the back of your mind, and then once you get immersed in the story, if the story's good, it becomes secondary to the story.
You do need a good story on those ones. But I think, like, say, moving on to kind of like my thoughts on the app itself. Like, I'm not a big fan of purchasing the Warhammer Plus subscription. I kind of wish that they actually still kept it separate. I would gladly buy the army builder to an extent, because I think the key features that I like and the easiness to it is all there. I just hate how it's attached to this Warhammer Plus.
I never even thought about that, but that's a brilliant idea. That I would have done the same. I would have felt much less dirty and guilty about buying. If they'd just said the Warhammer app's going to be a couple of quid a month, off, even if they were going to say it's a £5 a month, but you're going to keep access to all the army rules, all the army building ability, points, etc. That, as we talked about, we actually use that quite a bit. So that would have been good. But why is it that we feel so bad about Warhammer Plus in terms of paying for that?
For me primarily, now, I think the majority of the community have typically forgotten what GW done in 2021.
They did some pretty terrible things in 2021.
They destroyed animation for Warhammer Plus. So if anyone doesn't know or remember, because a lot of people have forgotten, basically in 2021, Games Workshop released a statement or a policy to basically saying that animations are no longer to be created by third parties, hence the community. It destroyed so many animators on YouTube, private, small businesses trying to maybe grow, or maybe just friends getting together, like what we do with podcasts, but in animation form, just basically telling their own stories in animations, and they've just completely destroyed that aspect, and it's just not right, because the reason why it's not right for us, because they done that because they knew that they were moving towards their own platform. They wanted people to come to their own platform and pay for it to watch their own animations. So they were like, right, well, bring more people in, let's destroy the community that we've got. That's how I see.
So
that.
they basically issue copyright strikes on all these people, legal threatening legal letters, cease and desist, or else, and an entire subsection of our community and culture disappeared overnight.
Absolutely gone. I've got a few names here that I want to shout out that I just simply love the animations of. The first one is sorry if I pronounced this wrong here, but Sodaz on YouTube. Searched his YouTube channel. All of his videos are removed. His channel is gone. He hasn't uploaded anything because it was all animations. Anyone who, quick correction on this one, actually, I got this wrong. His channel's actually doing fantastic. He makes absolutely fantastic Halo and Fallout animations. Everyone should go check him out. His channel's not dead. It's amazing. Doesn't know who this person is. This will probably refresh you on who they are. But this person or these people made the Death Corps of Krieg animation where they're fighting the Chaos Cultists.
Oh yes,
so it's the ones where they're obviously getting attacked by the Chaos Cultists. They're attacking the trenches, and then they go underground and they meet the Chaos Berserker. I think it is the guy in red. Unreal animation. You know, it was fan made. It was just the music was good, the animation was good, and it just told a very good story.
It was really atmospheric. Nailed the fluff and the lore of the Krieg.
Exactly,
and it almost sort of helped develop interest in the Krieg as well.
Exactly,
didn't it?
Like people who are in animation, maybe not so much Warhammer, they'll start seeing these videos and be like, well, I might make videos about that. They might even not even like collect their models or get into playing the actual game, but you know, more animators just, in my eyes, just draw more eyes into the hobby as a whole.
It strikes to the heart of how insecure GW is about its own ability to create good content.
Exactly.
If you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation and you feel threatened by a community fan fiction, then it says a lot about how good you think your own animation is going to be.
Exactly.
There are several ways they could have done this. The first one was they could have left those animators to do their own thing for the reasons that we've just outlined, because they add value to the community, bring more people in, and ultimately those people could be a gateway to Warhammer Plus, or just into the hobby in general.
Absolutely.
The other one is, is more common in the sort of the corporate world, is a buyout. You simply say, you're good at that, come and work for us as a creative content producer.
Now they have done that with Astartes,
right?
That obviously everyone knows, or everyone should know what the Astartes animation is, but it was made by one guy, absolutely unreal animator. I think he worked for, was it Blender, or he worked for some high up animation company, and he made an animation called Astartes. That is on the Warhammer Plus thingy, but again, his channel is gone. You go and search Astartes on YouTube. His channel just has the upcoming, basically all the videos are removed. There's one video saying what their plans are going forward, and they have been luckily adopted by the Games Workshop company.
That's the right thing to do.
Yes,
and
to an extent. The creativity of them is now being overlooked by Games Workshop.
Well, they're kind of
creative control is gone.
Creative control is gone. They're not independent anymore, but at least they're still involved in producing content.
Exactly, because losing that fella, no, it cannot be done. He's too talented to lose out of this community, and I think it's a very good highlight where people need to remember that this sort of stuff can and has happened.
We talked earlier on about the Codex issue for Tyranids and how that's an example of GW's predatory practices, and this one is a much, obviously this was a couple of years ago, but this is the biggest example for me of one of those, of how GW throws its weight around, if you like, in this hobby a little bit,
but in the wrong way. Like they've just blind shot at the animators for no reason, not thought about what this actually does to the community. Like, people love those animations, and it drew a lot more fans. It got me back into the hobby, because I was in massively in animation, and that got me back into the hobby. And then seeing them all gone, it's like, well, it just sucks. It's just not good.
You've persuaded me. I'm going to, as soon as I've got the spreadsheet app that you were talking about there, I am going to get rid of. I'm going to cancel it.
I'm not even done.
Go on. There's more.
There's two more.
There's
a one called the Grape Lords.
All right.
Great name. They only done 2 animations. They were basically, there was an Imperial Fists. What was it? The Imperial Fists versus Iron Warriors interaction.
Oh, yes.
Alex showed me this video a good few years back.
Yes.
It's just a funny interaction between these two basic units.
Yeah.
Really worth checking out. I'll put links in the description for all these below, but because these Grape Lords, I don't want to call them out, but they do have their videos still open on YouTube.
Right.
So they've got a way of it. I don't know what the aspect of it is, but that's still on there.
That's good.
The reason why I'm bringing these guys up for is because they actually done podcasts as well.
Right.
They've done a series of videos where they they've done it live, and they were drawing the animation as they were talking to the audience, so the audience was involved, and it was really good because they released the video and then started doing like episodes on the next animation they were doing.
Nice.
And it was really good. But funny enough, that last video was back in 2021 when the policy kind of came out from Games Workshop. So again, that killed a very good, I want to say, upcoming channel.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're upcoming, they're still like 22,000 subscribers, which is unreal.
That is massive, yeah.
But again, that could have been now.
Could have been huge.
Could have been massive. We could have had more animations, more podcasts for people to listen to, and I think it's the massive shame that they got rid of.
It's just a loss to the hobby, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. And the last one I do want to talk about, these are all ones that I've found, and one of my kind of favourite ones I like is the one person called Janovic is what it's called. Again, his video is on YouTube, but it's been re-uploaded by another person, so his channel is gone.
Right.
But this is the one where it's literally just a short, very second, where a few seconds of a Kriegsman dancing on top of the trenches to the boom, 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 I want you in my room, to that song. And it's just a very funny kind of animation to watch. And again, it's just that, it's a nice, just different to watch. You know, you're painting some videos, you might just want a bit of funness, you whack on a little animation, and it's just fun to watch.
So it really is.
They're my reasons why, or that's my reason why I don't feel right buying the Warhammer Plus subscription.
Shame is a word you just used there, and that is how I am definitely feeling now.
Yes.
So I'm sorry for giving them any money. And
get a refund tag, get it back from them.
I will definitely not be pursuing my Warhammer Plus for the time being.
Because again, I'm not taking away the app itself. I generally think that the army builder that they've got is good. It is. If you look at it, we've all used it because it's all been free.
Yeah, it's been great.
You know, it has been good, but since it's now tied into the Warhammer Plus subscription element, that's what unsettles me.
It taints it, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
Yeah, you're right.
So as time goes on, I think we will see, because I am curious. I mentioned in the last video, curious to see how they update the app as it goes on. We mentioned and touched on it briefly just before there, but you know, if they release the core rules for free, if the app itself is going to become behind a paywall, are all of the slight changes to the rules going to get updated in their commentary?
Yes.
Are they?
That's massive, because they let that go, as you said in the previous episode. Yeah. They just they really dropped the ball on that in the last edition. The app was so far behind where the actual rules were. That's
where the Warpedia came in.
Yes, exactly.
You literally had to use it to search the rules.
Yeah, that's why it existed.
But are they going to keep those changes behind a paywall, or are they going to update the rules for free? Because obviously the rules as of now is just a PDF that you can download off the online. Are they going to be updating the app, or they putting?
Yeah, so you can download the rules as a PDF. You can use the free app to access the rules, and it's searchable, which is a really nice feature. Yeah, and you also have all the free index cards and points. So there's a lot there, but if they don't update that, when, for example, a balanced data slate changes the points or an FAQ changes the rules, then it's going to become useless.
It is.
The other point that I think that we need to be aware of is the GW has said that the index cards will be free to use on the app.
Oh, okay, right.
By omission, that means the Codex data sheets won't be. And as we've already seen with the Tyranid ones, they're starting to tweak those and make changes to those as a Codex comes out.
Yeah.
So not most of the Tyranid data sheets are the same in the Codex, but some of them are different.
Yes.
So again, that's not going. Those tweaks are not going to be on the app. So they're going to be behind some paywall of some sort. At the moment, it looks like it's going to be a QR code in the Codex, so you can just scan that, get access to the points and the up-to-date data cards, hopefully. That's not going to be on the free app.
Yeah. So another thing I want to talk about as well is that, is it a fair price? Now, put it in perspective. Buy the models, buy the paints, buy the brushes, buy all the bits and bobs to paint it.
You're giving away how much we spend on this hobby.
Right, yeah. I'll retract all that now. But
it's a very good point.
So you buy all them, buy the Codex, you possibly buy the index cards because you're quite like them. Dice, tape measure, the bats, the terrain, the table, find time. Why do we have to now buy the app?
Yeah.
Like why can't they give us the tools free for us to enjoy the hobby that we've already paying quite a lot of money for? So I know we're saying it's only $5.99. Oh, it's not too bad. Oh, if we split it down for the year, 50 quid for the year. Oh, well, it's only like X amount of money per month. But like we're already paying a lot of money already for the other stuff.
Yes,
it's kind of like
I would.
Is it right?
It's GW is a corporation,
They
and
are.
it is very hungry. In terms of shareholder
Yes.
value, it has to demonstrate that it's
It is.
monetizing every aspect of the consumer.
They have had year-on-year growth.
Yeah, they have. That's it. And the fact that the data isn't out yet in terms of their financial statements, but they're
Based on
going
previous
to.
years, they've always been.
They are going.
COVID-wise, they
previous years.
spiked
Yeah,
during
previous years have
COVID.
done very well, but a new edition year is always a good year for sales. It always is. So they don't need that app money. You're right. They make good profits. They're always profitable. They don't need that app money.
No.
And it just feels like, as you were saying, a step from we accept that we pay. It's an expensive. Yes, it's an expensive hobby. It's a hobby we love.
Yeah.
You understand that when you get into it, that there's going to be some investment required.
Yeah.
But it just feels like this is a step slightly too far in terms of squeezing the consumer.
Really is, and as well, it being coming from a business perspective, it almost just seems like they're pushing up the numbers Warhammer Plus, because Warhammer Plus, they've seen a drop in the amount of subscribers.
You cynic, yes.
Are they just looking to basically to go to their shareholders and be like, look how well Warhammer Plus is doing?
That is a brilliant point, and I believe that there is an enormous amount of truth in that statement. They are absolutely trying to prove that Warhammer Plus is a success.
Exactly, but in reality, there's again, because I don't want to shit on what's on there. Painting videos, really good by Louise, really good collection. The battle reports, again, I've not watched them myself, but I've heard good things on them.
They're okay, but again, it comes back to the same thing with painting. Yeah. There's 20 other good content creators where you go watch bat reps.
And again, the soreness of the animation side of things. And again, I don't want to take away any credit from the animation and animators that have put in work with the current ones. I think they're good. I in a way, I do want to support the ones that are on there, but just since how Games Workshop have gotten to that point, that's why I don't want to support it. And it just seems like there's some overarching things going on in the background that they're not being truthful about, and that's what my thoughts are on the matter.
There's definitely some nefarious, if you like, reasons for it, and there's in terms of why they're pushing Warhammer Plus, there's the shadow of the treatment or mistreatment of those content creators that still looms large over this.
Again, I think a lot of people have forgotten about it, or they've kind of pushed it back to be like, oh well, it's been kind of forget about it. And like I do agree that people do need to move on from stuff that they've possibly done in the past, but the business slightly different in my eyes.
Yes, they need to be a little bit more ethical. That's all we're asking.
Just give us it for free.
Give
us it for free.
Yeah.
Or I'm probably going to not be using that bit of software. I'm going to be using it in something else.
Very good points. And please let us know your thoughts on this as well. Did any of you, like me, did you sacrifice your ethics for laziness? Did you crumble? Did you buy the app? Are any of you still able to use it? Because some people have still got access.
Good point. Yeah, I can still access mine.
You can.
I can.
I mean, obviously, I don't know because I'm paying for it now.
So so I'm getting away with it for free, which I will continue to do so for the time being.
That really frustrates me. Not that you're getting it for free, but that I buckled and paid for it when I could still be getting it for free as well.
For free there,
But let us know.
Please,
let us know your
final
thoughts. We know this is a controversial subject.
It is.
So tell us if you're using the app. Why do you Warhammer Plus? Why do you like it? What are we missing out on? Or what is Jack missing out on? I'm with you guys now. If you are opposed to using it, or if you found other solutions that we haven't mentioned, other apps that you're using, let us know in the comments.
Absolutely, and I'll put all the links below in this video just so you can access the bits that I found as well.
Great.
But apart from that, close it off there.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. Bye bye.
Cheers.